soft hours. The day I forgot my gloves. Data collectors. One of the reasons I created the Glove Up Crayon is because I learned this lesson the hard way. I sure did. I'd actually learned this lesson the hard way a lot of times. A couple years ago, I was contracted to work in a school setting. Before I get any deeper, that just tells you everything you need to know. Okay, school setting. And let me just say this now. Schools are fascinating places to study human behavior. They're also breeding grounds for resentment. You have exhausted teachers, under-supported staff, impossible expectations, politics, gossip, triangulation, burnout, and people carrying around years of unresolved frustration. Put enough stressed out adults into one building and eventually somebody becomes the emotional trash can. Unfortunately, on this particular day, and I remember it like yesterday, y'all, I volunteered as tribute. Came in as fresh meat, and I look a lot younger than I am. And when you look young and you have a license, I don't know what it is about some of these middle-aged women, y'all. They are bullies. Bullies. I remember being called into an office. The energy felt off immediately. You know those moments where your body just notices something before your brain does? Before anyone said anything, I could already feel the shift. Looking back now, that was probably my nervous system picking up cues that something wasn't right. At the time, I ignored it because, I was giving people the benefit of the doubt like Oprah gives out cars. Okay. I walked in assuming we were all going to have a normal professional conversation. I mean, let me tell you something. One of these women invited me to her home for Thanksgiving because I was alone. My husband was deployed. I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? And maybe this is why people tell me I'm resilient. I don't really believe it, but I can definitely see why. These moments, though, I'm never using these to rage bait, talk crap, or any of that. I'm not here for that weird ickiness. That is childish. We're not here for that, okay? We're here for the lesson. And boy, oh boy, was there a lesson in this experience. Okay, so I get called into this office. I'm thinking everything's dandy, it's not. Very quickly, this conversation shifted. And I want to remind you, yes, I work out of school at this particular time, but I was not a school employee. I was a government employee. I was a government contract. I was here on my own contract. The school was not in control of me. I also had to protect the confidentiality of my military kids because I was a military counselor at the time. Okay. Now, this conversation shifted into accusations. And this right here is kind of why El Paso is like a goat head up my ass, because the generational trauma that's in this city, it shows up in the workplace. And it's been a great experience kind of seeing how this shows up, right? How family system dynamics completely get reenacted in the workplace environments. If I had $1 for every one of my clients that is going through some mild form of workplace abuse, I could probably retire because it is crazy. And I'm telling you right now, the only thing that's stopping me from beating some of y'all's ass is the HIPAA. I'm just kidding. But I'm telling you, it is crazy unprofessional what some of the things that I've seen here and the way that we turned a blind eye because people do not have the courage to speak up. That's a generational trauma wound. All right. Now, in this particular situation, this woman had no information. She had hearsay information. She immediately called me unethical. She threatened me. She tried to basically get me in a fawn state, and that's exactly what happened. There was this attempt to position me as though I had somehow violated my responsibilities, but she ain't my boss. She is not my employer. She completely overstepped her professional line completely. And there was no accountability. That's one thing I've learned about Hispanic culture, just like Indian culture, just like Black community. This is something that happens where we don't ever acknowledge, we don't ever apologize, and then we're going to act cool like nothing happened. That right there is a breeding ground for resentment. And I don't like incongruence. All right. So the irony, again, I was not employed by the school. My role was very different. My confidentiality requirements were very different. My obligations were very, very different. The very thing that they wanted from me would have required me to violate those standards that I was hired to uphold. And I knew that. My supervisor knew that. The law knew that. Now, my nervous system did not know that. Okay. What fascinated me looking back at how quickly I stopped accessing the part of my brain that knew the facts. This is where Daniel Kahneman talks about system 1 and system 2 thinking, okay? System 2 is thoughtful, logical, analytical, deliberate. It's the part of the brain that gathers information and evaluates evidence. All right. System 1 is fast, automatic, emotional, and survival based. And my system 1 is rooted in my trauma. Because for me, this is something that, again, our amygdalas do not have eyes. Okay. It does not know that I'm at work. It does not know that I'm in this environment. And for me, because these were older women, I felt I had to be respectful. And your girl, this happened years ago at this point. And I can still feel the grief and the ache behind what I allowed in disrespect in a professional capacity. And I will never, never allow myself to be put in that position again. Your girl is going to use her voice. I also think too, because I am a Black woman, it is very easy for people to flip the script and be like, oh my God, she attacked me. She's so aggressive. Yeah, we're going to go into that, a whole different story. But where I'm going with this is, during that day, okay, I went right back into that regressed role because I didn't know what to do. This was a whole new experience for me. All right. The person that was driving that bus that day was not the licensed professional, was not the logistic adult, it was not the woman who knew exactly what her role was. It was the scared people pleaser. Yep, that girl came right out of retirement, and I fawned and I cried and I allowed her to bully me. And I'm still annoyed about that. Okay, I'm still annoyed. Now, the moment those women became emotionally charged, the moment those women became emotionally charged, my nervous system shifted from top-down processing into bottom-up processing. In other words, my body started making decisions before my thinking brain had a chance to catch up. Now, Stephen Porges, his work on polyvagal theory explains that when the nervous system detects threat, our ability to access curiosity, perspective taking, flexibility, and critical thinking begins to shrink. This is Porges 2011. The body prioritizes survival over accuracy. And because of my imprints, because of my trauma, my survival adaptation was to shrink. Shrink. That gets complicated when you're in a professional setting. And let me tell you, survival was in full effect in that moment. It definitely was. I wasn't asking myself, are these accusations true? I wasn't asking myself, do they understand my role? I wasn't asking myself, do they even have the authority to be acting like this? No, they did not. But let me ask you a question. Why do you think that people who act like this in the workplace have such the audacity to behave like they run the show? Why do you think that is? Because whoever is the leader, in that case, the principal, allows that dysfunction to happen. That's all I got to say. Now, my brain immediately went to, oh my God, I'm in trouble. What if they're right? What if I miss something? What if I lose my license? What if I completely screwed this up? Now, I want you to understand something. I'm the only one with a license in this room at the time, and I'm the youngest one. Okay? If you've ever struggled with people pleasing, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The nervous system becomes less interested in truth and more interested in restoring your safety. So for me, fawning, when you're apologizing, it's to get the attack to stop. I felt ambushed. I straight up felt ambushed. And my goal was to make it stop. So for years, I thought the lesson from that experience was about toxic workplace behavior, and it wasn't. The lesson was about what happened inside of me when I encountered toxic workplace behavior. Now, here's the reality, because there will always be people who use intimidation, who use shame. There will always be people who use titles and age and authority, their experience, their religion, their education, social status, all of it. They're going to use it to establish dominance. That's what those vines are. They grasp it. They grasp them for them vines. Because healthy people don't need to do that. People who feel powerful don't spend their day proving it. Most people who behave that way are carrying around their own unresolved resentment, insecurity, powerlessness, or pain. The workplace simply just becomes that stage where they perform all of that unresolved shit. Okay. This woman was so out of line. She even tried to bring my personal life into it. She tried to question my marriage. This woman was completely projecting whatever she had going on. And what bothers me the most, I had to really give myself some tender loving care after that, because the fact that I got so afraid and fond is what made me so mad. Savannah, you know better. How dare you let this woman talk to you that way? This is always happening to you. Stop letting people walk all over you. Because what I could have done, and let me tell y'all, okay, for months, this gave me like, I don't even know how to explain it. This gave me like PTSD. I don't know. It pissed me off for months, because I knew better. I am the girl that goes into fights. I am the girl that runs to my neighbor who's getting abused like I am a wizard. I am the one that I've always jumped into fights without even hesitating to stop it, to hold someone accountable. And that ain't safe. I'm not telling y'all to do that. I'm just saying that's who your girl was, especially in high school. I don't like that. And here I was in the workplace allowing these bullies to bully me because of whatever shit they have going on in their life. And so for the longest time, one of the tactics I did to kind of help process and metabolize that grief of not standing up for myself, I would voice record the things I wanted to say or that I should have said. Because the next time I'm ever in a work environment like that, I'm going to stop right here. With all respect, I actually don't think you're in a position to try to talk to me this way. And also, when a woman does this to an adult, what the hell do you think she's doing to students? I'm just going to tell you that right now. Okay. A lot of these people that work in schools for a reason, because of their ego. I have seen way too much in the school systems where teachers are projecting their shit on kids. They're bullying kids. They're embarrassing kids in front of everybody. That's foul. And these are grown ass adults that are doing it. Now, that's their shit. The problem here is I picked it up with bare hands. Your girl raw dog the experience. I absorbed their certainty, the urgency, the interpretation, their emotional state. I absorbed it all like Bounty quicker picker upper. I sure did. And then I walked out of the office carrying a backpack full of things. I was in panic child energy. I was having a panic attack. I shut down, and what sucked even more, my husband was deployed. So when I finally called my supervisor, I was in tears. I was convinced that my career was over because I allowed what this woman told me to penetrate me as if she had some sort of power. Now, Savannah, they were completely out of line. The sentence hit me like a truck because it forced me to see how far my perception had drifted simply because they planted that seed. My nervous system had become so convinced that I was the problem. It couldn't even entertain any other possibility. This is something that, for me, I have a hard time navigating with because of my trauma. I always assume the problem role, something I'm learning how to get out of. That's the thing about not wearing gloves, okay? Or not collecting the data, or not asking questions or evaluating the reality. We're just absorbing it all. These days, when somebody comes at me sideways, one of my favorite responses is everything okay? You seem upset. And this isn't because I'm trying to be passive aggressive. It's not because I'm trying to win. Okay, that right there is that egoic noise. I'm placing their energy back where it belongs, on their side of the street. I spent way too many years being the emotional bounty quicker picker upper for everybody around me, and not anymore. Okay, not for my clients, not for staff, not for people out nowhere. I'm not doing it. All right, because the gloves taught me something that I wish I had learned sooner, because not everybody who is upset is right. Not everybody who's loud deserves authority. Now, not everybody who's certain deserves your agreement. Not every pile of shit is yours to pick up. Now, have any of you had any workplace dynamics like this that you wish you would have stepped up, chin up, crown on? Yes, per my last email. You wish you would have said something. Raise your hand. I learned a really hard lesson that day. A really hard lesson that day. And it sucks because for me, a lot of my wounds came from women. And I can tell some of the mom mentality members now, oh, that's why when you post content about women and holding women accountable, blah, 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 you favor men, blah, blah, blah. I want to make something very clear. I've also been harmed by men too. The problem is us women, we've also been harmed by the women in our lives, like our mothers. Where do you think we learn some of the toxic behaviors that we engage in? That's what I'm reflecting on. And we bring that to the workplace because a lot of people have no courage to do what they do at work, at home, and that's why they're doing it at work. Tell me what comes up for y'all when you listen to this. Share your story below if you feel called to. I'll see y'all in the next one.